The dog's owner abandoned it by chaining it to a tree. You probably wouldn't believe the dog's retribution a year from now. Some individuals shouldn't be permitted to have animals as pets. Sadly, one guy fell into that category as he abandoned his dog by tying it to a bush and leaving it to fend for itself. In the beginning, there was a guy who, one Christmas, received a Staffordshire Bull Terrier puppy. In the beginning, the guy adored his new pet and would spend countless hours with her, playing with her, walking her, and showering her with affection. The dog liked her new owner and looked happy in her new environment. She was certain in her owner's affection for her, so she never considered the possibility of spending time with anybody else. The guy didn't have a yard for his dog to go about in since he was an apartment dweller. Twice a day, he will take his new dog to the courtyard of their apartment building so that she could run about and stretch her legs. For a time, it seemed like everything were going well between the two, but then it all changed. The guy started seeing a lady he met at work. They hit it off quickly and now spend almost all of their time together. He neglected his puppy by spending too much time at his girlfriend's house, so much so that he often failed to feed or walk the small pup before leaving for bed. It was the man's girlfriend's policy that whenever she came over, the dog had to be confined in the bathroom since she was allergic to it. The guy complied and would lock the poor dog up for long periods of time. Once the couple had been seeing one another for a while, they knew they wanted to push their relationship to the next level by moving in together. But the girlfriend was adamant that they leave the dog behind whenever possible. Due to his fear of losing his love, he consented to have the dog put down. After learning the steps necessary to give up a dog to something like a rescue group, the guy found out he had to pay a relinquishing fee and decided against it since he did not want to waste his money about something he did not value. The guy took his car to a less densely populated region and located an empty home there. He pulled over and retrieved the dog from the trunk. He led her to a strong tree in the property's rear yard, which had been left unattended. At the same time as the knave puppy was enjoying exploring her new surroundings by smell, the guy snatched her leash and fastened it around a nearby tree. After the dog started barking and whining because she couldn't follow him, he got up and left without looking back. The tiny puppy barked and whined for her master to return back for her during the first several days. But with little to eat and hardly any drink, the dog quickly lost her vigor. She lost a significant amount of weight within a few weeks and had almost given up hope of being rescued. The situation shifted, though. A guy called Kyle was strolling by the abandoned home one day. This was not his typical route. However, he took advantage of the pleasant weather by opting for a more extended stroll in a less bustling area. Something startled him as he passed the home. A high-pitched shriek, that's what it sounded like. He thought he heard something, but he wasn't certain, so he paused for a moment to see if he'd respond. And the whine was audible to him once again. After investigating, they determined the source to be the back of the deserted home. The guy seemed perplexed. He had no doubt that nobody really lived there. The abandoned look of the building made it very evident. So, what exactly was the source of the noise? Kyle started walking toward the backyard, worried that a wild animal may have been entangled in trash and need assistance. Instead, he discovered something that shattered his heart. The Steffi dog was among many who had been imprisoned. Kyle was bewildered at first. Whose dog was this, and why was it here? But when he drew closer, he saw the gravity of the situation, and his anger was understandable. Kyle saw the lead wrapped around the tree and concluded that whomever did it knew the dog would starve to death if she remained there. The puppy's condition was so dire that it might not have survived much longer if the animal-loving guy hadn't arrived just in time. To save the dog, Kyle felt he had to act. He wasn't sure what to do. He wasn't sure whether the dog was dangerous or hostile, so he didn't want to approach it too quickly. That being said, the guy got to his feet, assuring his dog that he wouldn't be gone for long, and then he hurriedly exited the yard. Carl came back after about half an hour, and so this time he had everything he needed. He was holding a fresh leash and dog food in one hand. The dog was happy to see her master again and started to wag its tail. Even though Kyle saw this as a favorable indication, He proceeded with caution when he finally got within touching distance of her. Initially, he stood a safe distance away, outside the reach of a lead, and started tossing food in its direction. After a few more repetitions, Ded got near enough to the dog that he could touch him while the dog eagerly devoured the food. A strong bond was formed quickly as he told the animal again, and over that he would eventually be able to rescue her. The puppy looked at him with understanding and started wagging her tail once again. Kyle slipped the new executive over her neck, after placing additional food on the floor in front of her. He took a pair of knives to the worn-out leash, freeing the puppy at last. The little puppy, relieved to be on the go again, eagerly followed Kyle to the front porch, where his vehicle waited. This kind Samaritan helped load the dog into the vehicle and took her to the nearest animal hospital. The veterinarian performed a thorough examination of the dog after it arrived at the clinic. The veterinarians estimated her age and found that she was only around 6 months old. She was very thin, but otherwise looked to be in good condition. A little puppy quickly won the hearts of the whole veterinary clinic personnel, who together decided to call the dog Nellie. The baby animal often showered her saviors with affectionate embraces and kisses as though in gratitude for their assistance. Kyle has promised to take in the dog and care for her until she recovers. The puppy was understandably anxious in her new surroundings at first. She was at a loss for proper behavior. The previous time she lived in a house, she was often isolated in solitary confinement. Kyle assured her that she would never be treated so cruelly again, and he made sure to shower her with affection and hugs. Before long, Nellie was shedding her reserved exterior and blossoming into a full-fledged, exuberant puppy. And as the weeks and months passed, Kyle found himself further taken with the pup's lively and enthusiastic character. She wanted nothing more than to shower Kyle with affection as a way of showing her gratitude for his heroic efforts in saving her life. Nellie's adoption was scheduled, but when the time came, Kyle couldn't give her up. He ultimately made the choice to adopt her personally. Nellie had fully recovered after a year, and she was as vivacious and energetic as ever. She showered her affections onto Kyle, who returned them with enthusiasm, and the two were ultimately successful in their pursuit of happiness. Enjoying your lifestyle to the max, despite what other people may wish, is sometimes the finest retribution. Leave a comment and tell me what you think of the tale. Keep up with the story by and subscribing for more incredible content.